I went to bed last night with a troubled heart. A couple, or call it two young guys, were traveling home to their village for traditional marriage. Two of them live in Abuja, and a traditional marriage was to be held at Imo State. On their way last night, they were both kidnapped. Until now, the kidnappers have insisted on some huge amount of money, which practically speaking, may be difficult for these young people to pay. And then, few weeks back, another young man was traveling to the village for his trad. And what happened? He had an accident on the way and he died. Now a young lady is still struggling to survive from that trauma. And this particular news or story propels me this morning to speak to us, to speak to our people. And that is why I'm beginning this series, Traditional Practices in Nigeria, My Concerns. I want to begin with traditional marriage in Nigeria, particularly as it happens in the southeast. Two things are my concerns. One, the act of having to travel to the village, having to travel home for traditional marriage or traditional wedding. I know we are a people of culture. I love culture. I love tradition. I respect culture. I respect tradition. I respect our elders. What has held us together all these years and what still holds us together all these years has been our culture, our tradition. And it will be a bad news to lose this culture, to lose this tradition that has held us bound and united. However, there comes a time that a wise people must look at their cultural or traditional practices and begin to ask some questions. And my first question vis-a-vis traditional wedding in the African culture or in the Nigerian culture, and particularly in the southeast, is must the couple or the couple to be, must they have to leave the city of their habitation to travel to the village for traditional marriage or wedding? I don't understand why two young intending spouses or a couple wants to get married to each other with parents, both parents living in the same city. I don't understand why they must have to travel to the village. Fine. It's good for their people to at least know that their children or people from their community are getting married. And this, we got to also ask ourselves some questions. When was this practice instituted and why? This was a time that people lived together generally. This was also a time that it was not difficult to travel from one village to another village. But with urbanization, with people living very far away from their places of origin, is it still so necessary they must return home for their traditional marriage, for their traditional wedding? There are risks in Nigeria today. What are the risks? Our roads are bad. There are plenty risks of accidents. And we know a number of persons had died, or call it have died, on their way to their villages for traditional wedding. And it's not just about the spouses in question, but sometimes because of our flamboyance in celebration, They have those who are going to put on their shabis and all that. Sometimes they have died. They have perished on a bad Nigerian roads in the name of traveling for traditional wedding. And I'm asking, looking at the distance, looking at the road risks, is this still relevant? I'm asking everybody, I'm asking particularly our elders. Apart from the dangers on our road, particularly the bad road, the possibility of accidents, and the actuality of accidents that we always have on a Nigerian road, what about the risk of kidnappers? Now, you are leaving Lagos to the southeast by road. You are leaving Abuja to the southeast by road, Kano to the southeast by road, or to the south-south. What is the guarantee that you will not be attacked either by armed robbers or by kidnappers or by bandits? So this is my first concern. The road risks vis-a-vis bandits, kidnappers, and also road accidents. And number two, the high cost of transportation now in Nigeria. And not just about the high cost, the economic austerity, the inflation is biting everybody. To expect a young man struggling to survive, to expect and to insist that he must travel to the village for his trad. The cost is enormous. And I'm appealing to everybody who has a say in Nigeria. I'm appealing to everybody who has a say in Igbo land. Can we take another look at this cultural practice? Can we have a rethink about this whole matter surrounding traditional marriage in the African setting, particularly in the Igbo setting? You know, this culture of it has always been like that. Fine. But if in the name of it has always been like that, we are losing lives, is it not an invitation to have a rethink? If there are two persons living in the same city with their parents living in the same city, let them celebrate their traditional wedding in that same city and send information to their parents and relatives in a village. They mustn't have to travel home, except there are reasons for this, which nobody is saying. And sometimes such reasons may be selfish. And I'm going to tell you why I consider such reasons to be selfish at times. And this takes us to my second point. What's my second point? The payment of dowry and other things associated with dowry payment. A young man just got married, traditionally. Of course, he traveled to the village. When he demanded for the list for the marriage, the amount on this list was, to say the least, embarrassing and annoying. How could you give a young man in these difficult times, in this difficult period, how could you give him a list? Dowry and other costs, other settlement, both in cash, in material gifts, in livestock. How could you give such a young man a list of over 2 million naira? And you expect a young man who has a business worth 3 million, 4 million to cough out 2 million naira just for traditional wedding. We're not even talking about the transport to and fro. We're not talking about other risks. So I am asking, is there nothing that we can do about this culture that is no longer helping us as a people, particularly the Igbos. So I'm calling upon everybody, every stakeholder, particularly in Igbo land, and by extension in Nigeria. It's high time we did something about this, because many lives have been lost. Many lives may still be lost in the future. If we insist that those preparing for their traditional marriages must travel to their villages, there are risks ahead. And if we insist that marriage becomes an opportunity for some rascals in the villages to extort money from their in-laws, then we are not doing well for ourselves. We are endangering ourselves. We are endangering the future and the destiny of our young people. And we all know that some young men or some young women have not been married just because of these risks, because of the high cost of marriage in Nigeria, particularly in the southeast. I'm appealing to all the elders, all the Igwes, all the chiefs, all the Ozos, all the Ezes. I appeal to all of you with due respect to do something that will stand the test of time. Do something about this, lest it swallows all of us. So I'm asking you viewers, what are your reactions about this? Are we all going to keep quiet and allow things to go this way? Suffering is much in this country. Let us stop complicating our matters. Let us stop complicating the issues already. A lot is at stake, except we change it here and now. So this is my first concern. My concerns, chapter 1, vis-a-vis our traditional practices.